Thing camera. Hello, everybody. Got to see my beautiful face. Happy Friday. I'm going to share my screen here and let me know if you guys can see my screen. If you can't see my screen, please let me know down below in the chat. Just hello as people ask questions in the in the community chat. Make sure you just help me keep track of who's asking in what order and help me keep up with everybody everybody's questions. So welcome all to the success call. So again, I don't think this is your first time for any of them, but just in case it is, what we do here is a quick intro where we just kind of give you an introduction to the Capri system itself and what it is. We go over the resources you have available to you, and then some of the updates for this week in terms of what's new and what we have available to you now, and then we'll go over Q&A for the rest of the hour. So just a quick overview, what exactly is Capri? Capri is a centralized solution for you to put all of your business knowledge into one place and have your Chat GPT agent be able to answer those questions automatically without you needing to actually be involved. So the best place to start is systems.capriai.us. From here, you'll be forwarded. You'll have to just sign up for an email. Any of your, you can sign up with any email, and any of your team members can sign up with their email, because the way that we actually tie users to a subscription in our app is through the high level subscription. So whenever you sign up with high level, you are given a unique agency ID, and that one agency ID is what ties you to all of the businesses location IDs that are in your agency account for high level. So when you log into high level in the browser, you have an agency ID that's assigned to you. So if you want to connect to a third-party app, which is what Capri is, we use your browser data, or I should say high level uses your browser data to determine what agency you're logged into at that moment. So if you ever have issues of logging into one agency or another, or you're not seeing the accounts you expect, just remember that in the browser that you're in right now, you do need to be logged in to high level at the root app.gohighlevel.com URL. And if you are logged in and you're not able to see any of the accounts, sign out and then sign back in, and then it'll reset your browser data. So that way we are actually going to be able to see everything. The first page that you're going to get taken when you first sign up is your settings page. In your settings page, we have a bunch of tooltips here. So these tooltips explain what each of these are, and they also include examples of where you can find information about this particular field in the portal. And once you have all your fields filled out, you can then use the emulator to test the prompt that you built for your agent. And so basically you can have an interaction with it to see how it would do, and then you can train it by clicking on the update button here, the little exclamation point, and then you can put in the correct answer, click update, and then if you click save, it will save that as a memory for it to learn from later on. So resources. So the best resources that we have for you right now is our Better Bots YouTube channel. We are trying to upload these recordings as much as we can every week. We are falling behind, unfortunately, because YouTube updated their privacy policy and how they detect it. And so we're having to spend a lot more time taking a fine-tooth comb, basically going through the recording, making sure that there's no emails shown anywhere in the recording. But this is where we post updates and we post all of our call recordings and everything like that. And then our Facebook group is the Automated Lead Nurture Using Go High Level Facebook group. Halal is going to link all of these in the chat for you guys, but this is where you can ask for help and you can share things that you see going on with your agent and success that you're having, and just keep up with the overall community for Capri. And then, of course, we always recommend getting the snapshot. And the snapshot is where we always say that you should start, because it has all of the webhook data pre-filled out, has all the necessary custom values that you'd want to use if you were going to share this across all of your client accounts and everything like that. So definitely get the snapshot, and it comes in an email, and that email will include a video that is a walkthrough of that snapshot itself. So definitely recommend using that resource as well. So speaking of resources, the first resource or the first update, and actually we only have 2 updates today. It's fairly quick. One of them is that we are going to be having 2 more weekly calls. So those 2 weekly calls are going to be on Wednesdays, and so Mondays and Wednesdays at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. So every Monday and Wednesday at 3:30 Eastern, we're going to have onboarding calls, and they're going to be a basic overview, like kind of like we just did. And then it'll be from there, it will be Q&A, so opportunity for you to actually ask clarifying questions and speak with one of our team members. We're going to continue to add more and more resources as we go, as we're able to hire more people and get more calls going every week. We're going to continue to just add more and more calls to the calendar, so that way we can help. But for you guys to be able to access that, this is the actual Zoom link itself. So I'm going to put that in the Zoom chat. So you guys can write that down. And then, of course, in the Facebook group, we are going to, in the Facebook group that Halal linked, we are also going to post the links whenever that meeting is happening. So definitely, if you have more questions, want to be able to get access to our team, we'll be available there. So to just go ahead and join those meetings as well on Mondays and Wednesdays at 3:30 Eastern. And then the next thing that we have for you guys, which I'm very excited, is that the first version of our help docs is available now. So if you just go to help.capriai.us, Seth has been working furiously to be able to get Gitbook available for everybody to be able to use. And so if you check out what that looks like here, this is the new Gitbook. So help.capriai.us. And if you come here, you can see that we have a bunch of sections about how to access the portal, navigating the portal, using the emulator, testing and debugging, prompt examples, outreach tasks, everything that we go over in these calls. We have now been able to write it out, and Seth put it all into nice centralized place where you can come and read it yourself and reference it anytime you need. And so we are definitely open to feedback on this, on how you would like to see it structured and what is the most useful way that this content can be written. And we're going to continue to add videos to it, and we're going to continue to add screenshots and more resources as we create them. But we now finally have help.capriai available. So definitely, feel free to use that as much as you need. So those are the 2 major updates for today. So I think we're going to have a good amount of time to get into Q&A. So let's see what is in order. So Will, for Looms, I'm not gonna be able to watch those right now. We do have your ticket though. And as we, I have seen kind of what you've been doing. So I pulled up a chart today that I want to make sure I share with everybody. So not to go into like too much detail, but one of the big things that a lot of people want to be able to do is create custom tagging examples where, let's say, so for me, for example, I'm going to just use my own niche to provide an example of kind of what we're looking to accomplish when it comes to dynamic conversation routing and tag prompting. So, for us, for DaaS, Developers as a Service, which is the software development agency that kind of runs all the development side of all the products that we support, including Capri and the Gmail app and other partner apps that we're in. we have one Facebook page, and when people message that one Facebook page, they could be messaging about applying for a job or hiring a developer for a job. So those are two different things that could be happening. If they're hiring, or if they're, let's say if they're applying, they could be applying as a front end developer, a back end developer, or a designer, or some kind of combination of all. So what I want to be able to do is tag them based off of what kind of developer they are, because that's going to determine the calendar that needs to be scheduled on for who needs to interview that new developer, right? Because they have a certain set of skills that needs to match up with another certain set of skills. So what I shared last week and what I can pull up again, that is how we accomplish this on a basic level, and I'll extend it a little bit today. And I don't want to take up the entire meeting going over this, but I want to make sure I just explain a little bit about why you might face challenges with like rate limit errors and stuff like that. So let me just go here, go to my automations. So if I've got my conditional replies workflow here, where I've got the condition that the customer replies, and it's, you know, these filters are just simply that I don't have a couple of tags like the kill switch tag, and it's through the Facebook Messenger, which high level decides it's going to want to go slow today. But it starts out with the customer reply trigger like always, and then the condition is it doesn't have tag candidate, doesn't have tag recruiting, tag includes candidate, tag includes recruiting. So if they don't have either of these tags, then I'm going down this webhook step and trying to determine which tag that they should be added to, right? But then from there, the next step is like if they're a candidate and they're looking to apply, then the next thing that I might want to be able to check for them is like tag backend. This tag should be added if the contact specifies that they are specifically looking to work in a back-end developer role. Do not add this tag unless they are specifically skilled and experienced with back-end software development technologies. If they are inquiring about front-end technologies, do not add this tag. So that's an obnoxiously specific prompt, but it's what we're finding out we have to do. Like we have to be so overly obnoxiously specific about when this tag should be added that we have to like restate it over and over. So another thing about this though is that backend can then break down into even more stuff. So like from there, backend could be Node.js or it could be Python. Like those are two types of languages that relate to the backend technology, the backend side of software development. So what I might want to do like native, you know, like traditionally is I might want to just put tag node, and then this tag should be added if the contact specifies that they are looking to work with Node.js, or they are, you know, an experienced Node.js developer. So, and then the other one would be like tag Python, and then the other one would be like tag, you know, C or something like that. And the problem is when we run every single one of these tags, every single time this webhook fires, what we're actually doing, and I'll show you, I have a little thing for it. Sorry, it's going kind of slow. So can you guys all see this Zen flowchart tab? I want to make sure that that's what's showing on my screen right now. So this is what's actually happening whenever we are interacting with the OpenAI API. So every single time the webhook fires, this is exactly what's happening on the back end. So we have our system prompt, and we have 3 system prompts depending on which task you're using. If you're using outreach, it's a specific task talking about a sales assistant that's looking to engage with a contact. And I give a bunch of rules. I took inspiration from Bard and Sydney, the Sydney prompt from Bing. If you have heard about that, they basically have a whole persona that gives rules about what you should and should not talk about as an assistant. And you should talk about yourself, and you shouldn't talk about this and that, you know. So that's what the system prompt is. And we put it in there purely for safety purposes, because we didn't want out of the box these bots to just be saying crazy, wild, irrelevant stuff. For saved sessions, this is where we pull from the emulator sessions that you give it. And so every single time we receive a webhook in any conversation, for the location ID that the message comes in through, we are adding the saved sessions that are most similar to where the conversation is at right now. So if you don't want that to happen, that's where we included the functionality where you can add another thing here where you can say training, and then you can say exclude. And so if you have a different purpose that you don't want the training from the emulator to impact what the bot says, you can now have training set to exclude, and it won't pull emulator sessions in that particular request. And so it'll remove this 1,000 tokens here. But most emulator sessions, like most people have way more than 1,000 tokens saved in emulator sessions. And so we are only pulling the top 1,000 most relevant emulator sessions that apply to this current conversation. So on message 1, we might have 1 emulator session say like put into the prompt, but then on message 2, it'll be a different set of emulator sessions, because the conversational similarity might change depending on what the conversation is about. Now, one thing that we're not able to do, but we want to be able to do is have more values for training set to exclude. And what that requires us to do is for you to give us a name of your training data, or some kind of way for you to tell us that these are the sessions that are saved for this type of use case. These are the sessions that are saved for this type of use case. And it's just an adjustment to the UI that we have to make, and we're working through how we can do that and not break the system as it sits now. But for right now, that's just a little bit, that's like how the saved sessions work. And then from there, we're putting your prompt. So before we even put your prompt in the full prompt, we have already put your sessions, and we've also put your system prompt. And then after that, we put the knowledge base. So after your saved sessions and your prompt, then we put your knowledge base. And then we put the conversation history for this specific conversation. So for this contact that's having this conversation right now, we put the full conversation history at the end, and then we have the bot complete it. So we say, okay, AI, here's all of the relevant data for this conversation turn. Please put your completion, like, please tell me what the message should be, like what the final message should be. So when we tell you guys that we're using a lot of tokens, this is why. Because in between here, we're also doing a handoff check, right? Because you guys can give us a handoff prompt where you can tell us, which, by the way, before I move on to the conversation history, you can also now minimize it to be history within only the last 3 hours. So whatever number you put here, we'll put in hours, and we'll only include conversation from the last that number of hours. And if you want it to be a half hour, you can just do 0.5. And so it'll only be 30 minutes. But you can do that as well, all in the effort of minimizing how long this conversation history needs to be for this message that's coming through, depending on what disposition that contact is in the pipeline, basically. And then for
The handoff check, that's this thing that we give you you can do a handoff prompt. And if the handoff is met, we'll add the tag and we don't respond. The calendar check takes about 1,000 tokens now, because this is where we're saying, like, should we check the calendar? Yes or no? Like, do I need to read the calendar? And if I do, what are the times I need to read for that calendar? And then the tag check uses 100 to 200 tokens per tag, sometimes more, depending on how long the conversation is, because you're giving us the prompt itself for the tag, plus we have to include the conversation history for it to determine if the tag should be added based on this conversation history. And so this is like the full system of like what's happening on every single request. Like every time we get a request from a contact, our system, this is a combination of what is happening basically. Like, so if you don't include save sessions, this won't be there. If you include the task to be custom, this won't be here. We remove the system prompt entirely when you put the custom task, and we only have your task at your prompt in there. But we still keep the saved sessions. The knowledge base, it's always going to be in here. It's only ever going to be 450 tokens if you have the extension, because this is like the whole point of the extension is to only use the top most important information. And then the completion is always, it should never really be more than 200 tokens until we start talking about email, which is definitely on the roadmap for next quarter to have email supported as well. But you guys are going to start using even more tokens with that, because that's, much longer form communication. So I just wanted to provide this to you guys. I was really, debating on if I should really show this, because this is a lot about what we do on the back end. But at the same time, this is important for you guys to really get a visualization of like what's happening whenever we're sending the message to ChatGPT to actually generate a completion. We're putting a lot more into it than just what you can see right then and there. And so that's why, I wanted to have this diagram. And on the new version of the emulator, on the new version of the app, which is launching next quarter as well, like it's going to be end of September, you will actually see every single one of these things happening in the emulator. So right now you don't see all of these things happening in the emulator, like, where if you're like, system, just log in, sorry. See, now I'm going to have to edit this part out for YouTube because it has an email in it. Let me just go to, I guess here. No, I'll go to recruiting. So like here right now, I say like, what do you guys do? So right now, I don't really get any information back from the emulator other than exactly what the bot said. But what's happening on the back end is all of this stuff, like all the same stuff for the save sessions, the prompt, knowledge base, conversation history, all this is happening. And I guess that's why it's going so slow today. My computer, I don't know if you guys can hear, but my computer is screaming at me. It is not happy sharing my screen and doing Zoom and all this other stuff at the same time. Okay. Yeah, I probably hit a rate limit error myself. I've been doing some testing this morning. So whenever that happens, that's usually a rate limit error, or OpenAI could be down, or somebody else might be logged into my emulator. So that's one thing too that I do want to make sure you guys know, is that if you have two people logged into this emulator, into this main app at the same time, you can have issues with the emulator actually working all the way, because we only designed it for one person to be able to use the emulator at a time. We do have that set to be fixed very soon, but for right now, I think I might have somebody else testing in my account because I asked them to, but that's always fun when you're on a live demo. Oh, there you go. Yeah, so somebody must have logged out because I said something. So that's an issue that we are aware of. We do know that if you have two people logged into this emulator at the same time, it just won't work. Like the sessions just won't work properly. But that's only this emulator. That doesn't apply to the iframe emulator. I solved for that specifically for the iframe emulator because I knew it was going to be an issue. But with the main app itself, we still only allow for one person to be doing emulator in one sub account, though. That's make sure you guys understand if I choose another sub account here, I go to like my, let's say client acquisition account. This is a different emulator. So somebody can be in this emulator and then somebody can be in the other emulator at the same time. And there's no issue. Like it won't cause conflict or anything like that. But all of that to say, my original point was right now, there's not much information in here other than I'm 100% confident that this is exactly what the bot should have said. And there's no intent that I need to follow or anything like that. What we're going to have with the new version of the emulator is you're actually going to be able to come in and see, I read the spreadsheet that you gave me, and this is what I pulled from it. And I read the previous conversations, and these are the most important ones that I pulled. And I read the calendar, and this is what I got from the calendar. And this is the final response that led to. And so all of that data is going to be available to you in the emulator in the newer version. We're just updating the entire framework. And so we're, instead of updating this one specifically, one day you'll log in and it'll just be different and it'll look nicer. And we promise it won't break anything. Because I know a lot of you have had that experience in the past with other platforms having issues with not breaking stuff when they update. So yeah, that's a big part there on all of the
Quinn, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I know you can't go over my looms. Support for some reason told me to come on today. I wasn't really sure about that. But just in general, the issue that I'm having is the emulator and the webhook operate completely differently, given like the same exact settings, like 100%. So like, I'm just trying to figure out if anything off the top of your head, like emulator will pre-qualify people with like 3-step pre-qualification. Webhook will not, given like nothing's different. Is there anything off the top of your head that could be causing that?
No, not off the top of my head. But we were looking at it together yesterday on the back end. Like, we were looking at it together and we noticed that in a couple instances, it's like the knowledge base was not included in the webhook. And so like maybe there was an issue with the custom value.
So like, yeah, I tested with and without the knowledge base, like intentionally. So like the final thing, it was just kind of like everything's in there, exact same messages, everything. And I know you guys had a question about there being like an outreach thing. That was just the outreach workflow, like kicking in basically.
Right. Okay.
But aside from that, I really can't figure out why it wouldn't do the same thing.
If I can just jump in here real quick.
Yeah.
I do remember yesterday while we were checking through that, I'm pretty sure part of what the issue that you're running into is that inside of the actual like training data that you're using inside of the emulator, it's like super specific. When they give this exact word, then it should, do this, right? And then what you have is inside of your workflows, each different webhook step has a different prompt that is giving only a single qualifying question. So instead of it being given all of the different qualifying questions, it's only being given that one qualifying question. And so what we saw happened was you had an instance where while you were testing, you responded in a way that answered both the first qualifying question and the second qualifying question. And so what it did was it read the training data and saw that whenever somebody answers about whether or not they're an adult, or actually was if they answer about it being the first time that they've ever trained before, it saw that and said, okay, since they've answered that, now I need to give the times. So that was what was happening in that specific instance that we saw.
Wait, are you saying, can I clarify? You're saying in the emulator training data, you're seeing safe sessions where someone says, like, yeah, it's my first time training, and then it goes right on to giving them times?
Yeah. So like we were able to see in the back end that you have like the like an entire, sentences trained in, right? Like an entire training session done. And it was the in that training session, it was the full walkthrough, right, of like all those qualifying questions. And then it saw that the last step was for them to say something about I believe it was what their if they had trained before, right? And so whenever they answer in the training sessions that it was seeing, if it was the first or last time or whatever that they had trained before, then it moves on to offering or to telling about what times are available, right?
Without asking if they live or work in the area.
Well, in the training session, it saw that, it's supposed to be asking that, but it also saw, hey, whenever they respond this way, I should respond this way. Whenever they say something about their about whether or not they've trained before, that's my cue to pop in and say, hey, these are the times available. So I think it's because the prompt will override the training data, right? The prompt is what it listens to first. But in the prompts that you're using for the webhooks, since they're kind of like separated out like that, it didn't have all of the qualifying questions yet. And so it just defaulted to, oh, hey, they mentioned that they've trained before. The only information I have about them mentioning training and stuff like that means that, hey, I need to say this. It didn't have information that it was supposed to continue the questions yet. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, just to clarify, so because I have different bots, and so the one bot in question is the adult bot, and that prompt does have all the different stages. It's the one I use in the emulator and the webhook, determine their training experience, and if they live or work in the area, and then you go on to schedule the classes. That's the one that, like, the bot that's in question. And then in the emulator sessions, go ahead.
In this particular instance, what this was the webhook that is trying to determine their age. So it's before it actually sends them to the adult bot. And so what had happened was, in that prompt where it's checking the age, all you're telling it is that it needs to ask for the age, right?
So you're saying this was the bot this was the age determining bot, basically, that was doing this.
Yeah, that's
okay. Okay, let me go back and take a look then. So it's not really like the saved sessions that's really the issue. It's that bot, basically.
Yeah, it's that it didn't have the only information that it had about what it's supposed to say in that instance was the training sessions. And so it just defaulted to giving
exactly. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I thought it was the adult bot. I'm going to go back and check that then. Thanks for clarifying.
And
Go on,
so
man.
one thing that I want to bring up about this too is that, like, man, Will, you've got an awesome, very specified use case that, like, you're making the most out of the system. And that's what we want. We want to create these, like, really, really advanced, granular use cases so that you can always have the AI doing exactly what you want. But at the same time, almost contradictory, this is not yet an exact science. Like, language AI itself is actually still very new and still very, like, not theoretical, but like it's still like, we think this is why it predicts this way. Like, at its base level, we still don't really know why deep neural nets learn the way that they do. We have, like, what we think is going on under the hood, and that's what we base our practices on. So, like, when we go to add training data, what these super fancy, rich scientists are doing is they're basically saying, all right, according to the math, I think it's probably picking up on this kind of stuff. So when we select the data we're going to train it on, the way we're going to shape it, we're going to put more of this type of data and less of this type of data. And so then on the flip side of that, after the model has been trained and after we actually start using it in the real world, we kind of make those same assumptions. And then if the original scientist that designed the model was wrong, then now we're making all these assumptions, expecting the model to perform one way. If we do this, and this, and then we don't get that result at the end.
Sure.
So all of that to say, the more complicated the task gets and the more like all around knowledgeable we want to make these AI, the more we're going to find these types of, like, oh man, I didn't think of that. I didn't consider that, the training sessions for one use case might not necessarily apply to another, or like the prompt for one part of your business may be a different, like a slightly different prompt, but then that impacts the sessions that were saved, or it impacts the knowledge base you use, or like, all of it's very dynamic and moving at the same time. And so kind of what I feel like the best thing we can do is give you guys the most amount of control possible, and give you guys the most amount of opportunity to train every single part of it. Because right now you can only actually train the main completion, right? But just like you guys saw, there's a bunch of other stuff happening on the back end that we're mostly managing for you. But we would like to give you guys a window to input your own kind of like fine tune for that. So I'll show you all a very, very special sneak peek that I'm not really supposed to be showing people. But let me just find this link really quick. Sorry, I gotta log in. So like I said, we are launching a new app in the end of Q3, and it's going to be really freaking cool. But the new emulator is going to look like this. So it's going to be very similar to like what we have now. However, whenever you click on this, it's going to pop up with a menu on the right like this, where it's going to give you it's going to give you the message that it said, but then this is going to say, I checked the spreadsheet and I got this. I checked the calendar and I got this. I checked this website and I got this. And you'll be able to edit it and tell it what it got right and what it got wrong on the action side of things. So that way you're able to do better. And a little special sneak peek on the settings tab, we're going to have more than one AI. So you can have ChatGPT for your chats. You can have GPT-4 for your actions, or you can have a cheaper, smaller, lighter weight one that you fine tune, because from the emulator, we are going to give you the ability to fine tune as well and have our own models that you can host that are going to be not ChatGPT. So all of that to say, we are in it for the long haul, guys. We are going to continue to give you more and more capabilities and more options for how you like automate a lot of your business communications. And we appreciate every single bit of feedback that you guys give us for sure. So Seth, let me see what I gotta go in order with. So William had a question. He's saying the bot was not attempting to book. We'll just say our team will reach out. I asked support and they said it was because the bot was designed to book one appointment for a contact. So since the issue, the auto booking came out and the history key is out, that you would book with these new feature keys. So yeah, basically it kind of sounds like it's mostly you need the bot to be able to book multiple appointments over time. So yes, basically excluding any kind of history for that's more than like an hour ago or something like that can help with that. And then also changing the prompt to like basically say that it's okay to book multiple appointments after the appointment has been booked. So what I'll do is I'll write this down as like a very specific training that I need to do. And on one of the other calls next week, we'll actually go more into detail about how to have it do booking and then rebooking. But it would be kind of like what we were talking about with Will, where he kind of has one prompt for talking to children, one prompt for talking to adults, one prompt for a black belt, one prompt for a white belt. And so the different steps in the webhook, the different fields that you use in the webhook will change based solely off of what the most recent event was. So if the appointment has been booked, you might add a tag, and then that way when the customer replies, if they have that tag that the appointment has been booked, the prompt is going to be different that says, hey, the appointment's already been booked, but if they need to book another one, that's okay. You can still book the same calendar, you can still book the same appointment. And, just depending on your conversation flow, you may just have to kind of have different conditionals like that. And so, talk with our support team. We are getting a surprising amount of requests for things that aren't just the basic flow of the booking, right? Because that's kind of where we went with the MVP is like, have somebody book appointments and answer questions when I'm not available. That was my problem. Was I was like, I'm constantly on calls. People they have the same questions over and over again about DAS and Capri. How can I have them book appointments and just get started on a trial and stuff while I'm not available? So that was the main thing that I solved for. And then now, we have way more, robust features that people want to be able to do, having long-term ongoing relationship type of AI where they can manage much more than just the initial kind of sale and the initial conversion. So as we are growing into those types of use cases, we're learning as a company how we can scale to support you guys the most, and how we can provide that, like one-to-one, like design service, right? Because that's what we're talking about now, is more so designing the workflows and the automations in a way that support, more complicated use cases, or more, I don't want to say complicated, but more robust. Cool. Going to look, implement anything like LangChain. Yeah, we built LangChain. So not like literally, but we modeled everything that we do off of LangChain. And yeah, they're definitely a big inspiration for how we do stuff. How do we match prompts to emulator sessions? Yeah, so this is what we were talking about earlier, Andre. So we don't have that capability right now, in terms of like mapping prompts to emulator sessions, but that's what we're going to eventually have available, is a way for you guys to tell us which prompt this session should be saved in. So like, for example, see if I can pull it up. So eventually we'll have the ability to like have a prompt here, and you'll be able to choose like which AI provider you want. And then you'll be able to add multiple prompts here and then have triggers. And then in the emulator, whenever you choose to test it, you'll choose the bot, and then you'll also choose the prompt that you're using. So that way, whenever you save this session, it saves it to that prompt and to that bot. So we do have that in the works, but right now we don't have that level of granularity just yet. How far are we from Capri making my grocery list based off what I have in the fridge? Dude, I had an idea for that like so long ago. It was so funny. I literally was like, we could just get cameras and put them in the fridge. And then whenever stuff runs out, you just order it on Amazon, and like, you could do it. I mean, I'm sure Samsung's probably going to make something out of it. Tell us more about these agents. You want to see the new stuff? So here's the overall vision, guys. This is going to be pretty crazy, and we'll be done in a couple months, hopefully. So yeah, what you do is you go to settings and you say, all right, I want to connect ChatGPT, I want to connect Bard, I want to connect Facebook's, like whatever. And then you say, I'm going to connect it through high level, Chat HQ, HubSpot, Facebook, anything you want to connect it to. And then you can also add Google Calendar, Mongo, a website, Acuity, anything you want in here. And then in the agents tab, you're going to basically just choose what the integrations are. So it's like, if I want one for GHL, I can have one here, have one for Gmail, have one for HubSpot. They all have different data sources, different AI providers. Yeah. And then each of these is what you'll choose in the emulator to train. And then we'll have an activity tab here where you can actually come and see what it's doing in real time. So there you go, a little sneak peek for you guys.
Have an older question
Yeah.
needs to get answered here. So Adam was asking, can you enable the calendar to allow multiple appointments at the same time?
Yeah.
We have multiple agents on the team fielding these appointments, and this is a question I've been seeing in the support as well.
So if you're talking about being able to have the bot book more than one appointment for one contact, or are you talking about
at the same time?
Multiple contacts can be booked at 2 p.m. on one day, right? That's what
Yeah.
I just want to confirm before I go down this path, that that's what he's looking for clarity on. Multiple yes. Okay, cool. So yes, to do that, that's actually a go high level calendar setting. So what you would do is go here. And so what you do is, in your high level account, you'd go to settings, and then you go to calendars here, and then just whichever calendar it is that you want to have multiple events and the same thing, you go to edit.
And then under availability, you go appointments per slot. And you can just increase this to, as many as you want. So that way you can have more than one in a single slot. Nice. Like the easiest one I've had to answer today. Cool. Any other ones? Any other questions that we got? I think we're looking good today. Let's see. Okay, here we got. During testing last time, I respond workflow stop responding to my replies. That response again. Sure, I'm missing so. So Tim, we'd have to be able to actually get the contact ID and maybe see a little bit more on the back end what's going on, because if it stopped responding to your replies, is there any error notes on the contact? That's always the first place we check. Like we suggest checking is on the contact. All right. And if there's no error notes, then yeah, we'll just have to be able to check we'll have to be able to check the contact ID and see what might be going on. To know a little bit more, because there's a lot of reasons it could be. So yeah. What about those random follow-up messages you say that say something like, you can use this to respond to a lead? Tim, message our Facebook page. Hello, can you put the link to the Facebook page again? And our Facebook page will be able to at least get you a ticket started if you haven't already gotten one started. And if you have one started, then we will follow up via email. Cool. So what about those random follow-up messages that say something like, you can use this to respond to a lead? I don't know what you're talking about, Andre. Okay, send it to me. It sounds like it might be an issue with the outreach task, though. We have been having a little bit of issues with the outreach task because, like I said, we do put a system prompt before your prompt. And for some reason, our system prompt seems to not work well with other people's systems, like their prompts, whenever we put the outreach prompt in front of yours. So always switch it to custom task if you're having like weird, like if it seems like the assistant is putting their message in the contacts, like in what it should be sending to. I'm trying to think about how to describe this. If it seems like there's instructions included with the output of the outreach task, try switching it to custom and see if that helps. The system prompt, it's long, or it's not that long, but I can't remember everything that it is. It's something like, you are an AI sales assistant. I don't remember. It's something that's long, and it's changed the last couple of times, but it includes things like, you should not talk about yourself. If they ask about, if anybody asks you, or no, sorry. I'm thinking about the respond task. The outreach task is like, you should say things like, hey, contact first name, just checking in again. Like, I give a few of my own examples, and then I give rules of like, you should not include anything except the message in your response. And like, I've given it a bunch of instructions that I think would help it not do that, because we've seen it just like one-off do that sometimes, if it's like giving like the bot's response to the instructions as part of the bot's response. And that's why the outreach or the custom task helps. It's just that your prompt might have to be a little bit longer if you use the outreach task, because it'll have to include more instructions about what it's doing and what it shouldn't be afraid to use jokes and stuff like that. So yeah, just use custom task. Andre, I'd prefer you send me a Loom instead of share screen right now. Just because we're going to put this on YouTube and it makes the editing take even longer. But yeah, send me a Loom, and if we need to jump on and see if we can figure out what might be going on, we can. But usually those types of weird issues are like solved by the task being changed to custom instead of outreach.
We had a question from Jordan Urcel. Yes, is there any way to train the AI to fall back instead of giving a response?
Is there any way to train the AI to fall back? What do you mean? So like it's not detecting a fallback when it should, basically.
I just mean like if it's responding to a question that you don't want it to respond to. So if it's saying something like, if like somebody asks a question and we don't want them to say anything to that, we just want to say, hey, I'm not sure, but I'd be happy to go find the answer for you. And then we can just like reroute it to a person. Is there a way to like train it to do that? We just found it like, so what we did is we like created like a blacklist of like, hey, if someone asks a question in this blacklist, the blacklist includes blah, 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 respond with this, and then it'll add a tag. I'm just wondering if there's a way to do that with the fallback that we could like train it to do.
No, not right now. I mean, the best we could allow you to do is like if you have access to GPT-4, GPT-4 is a little bit better at determining the fallback. The only other thing, yeah, no, the best thing you could do is just have it in the prompt specifically say what it should say if like a blacklisted topic comes up. But in terms of like you listing stuff, it doesn't really like that, it seems, whenever like, because we've had people try to create prompts with lists in them of like, these are the questions you should ask and then list them out. And then these are the questions you should ask after that and then list them out. It doesn't like that as much as a sequential sentence, like a story, like telling a story of like, you know, if you're asked about things such as XYZ, you should just respond with this, that, or the other. Similarly, if this topic comes up, you should simply say this, like the fallback message that you want. So like telling it in a story pattern rather than a list, for whatever reason, it's doing better. It seems to follow that better. So try that out and see if that helps as well.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Does changing the task to custom remove the system prompt so that it goes strictly off your prompt? Yes. We still have a system prompt, but it's like you are an AI assistant, given the following instructions. That's all we say. So I can tell you for custom task, I don't remember for outreach and respond, but for custom task, our system prompt is just simply you are an AI assistant given the following instructions, and then we just put your prompt. So yeah, that's what that one does. Awesome. Okay, well, this felt like a good one. So I do also want to just kind of let you guys know next week is my birthday, next Tuesday. And so I am going to be running a very special offer for everybody for my birthday. So make sure you stay tuned to see what it's going to be. I'm pretty excited about it. And then, yeah, you guys got to see that V3 app sneak peek. What'd you think? I think it's pretty cool. Thought it was cool. Leave a 1 in the comment because I'm pretty excited about it too. Yeah, awesome. Hell yeah, dude, I love that. I love how you guys love it and watching it. It's awesome. So we are super motivated to get that out. We're hiring 2 backend developers to help with that. One of them's ready to start next week. The other one we're still looking for, but I'm so incredibly excited to get that launched. Yeah, I can't wait to keep growing with you guys. So thank you all so much for hopping on today, and showing up every week, giving us your feedback. It's definitely very much appreciated. Yeah, if you have any questions, message us on Facebook, send us an email. And welcome to the age of AI, guys. You're definitely in the right group if you want to grow with AI. This is where you do it. So happy Friday. Have a great weekend, everybody. And talk to you all soon.